Survivor is a CBS TV show. It's a reality show. It's a contest between men and women. And the premise of the show is outwit, outplay, outlast. Today I'm talking about persistence and how persistence is the key to enduring, a sales gig for the most part, but really almost any aspect of life. You're going to need to have persistence. You're going to need to show endurance, grit, stamina, and tenacity. And I think that's something that's lost in today's society. Everybody thinks that things are going to be given to them. They think that things are going to be easy. A lot of the podcasts, books, stories that we hear about these tremendous success stories. And while a lot of them may also include, some of the difficult pathways, I think people just forget and they get lost in all the failure and all the heartache and all the difficulties that we see when we're learning about these different businesses. One of my favorite TV shows is The Prophet, and he definitely outlines the some of the struggles that we see in businesses. I love podcasts by NPR. It's How I Built This. They talk a lot about how some of the most successful businesses in America are built. And you definitely see this endurance, grit, stamina, and tenacity piece in those businesses. But we forget. We forget that people, have to fight and have to be persistent. And so a fun way for me to coach and to train and to teach others to kind of have this mentality is the survivor mentality. And it's because of its three pillars, outwit, outplay, outlast. And so the idea behind that, outwit is obviously strategic. Outlast is, there's a social aspect to the game of Survivor that needs to be incorporated. You got to work with people. We're in the people business, right? And then the outplay, you've got to be strong. You've got to be strong. You have to be the last one standing. And so the first element of Survivor is outwit. And I love that because it doesn't matter how big, how tall, how strong, how fast, how good looking you are, male, female, doesn't matter. Your past history, your mama, your daddy, your granddaddy, doesn't matter. You can use your brain. You can outwit others. You can outwit them. What do I mean by that? I don't mean being, lying and deceitful. What I mean is being strategic. Being strategic, setting goals, having a plan in place. And so as you probably know, if you've read Good, Better, Best or Do Better, and you've been listening to the podcast, that I'm a big proponent of goal setting, whether it's SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, or timely, BHAG goals, big, hairy, audacious, giant goals or stretch goals, or just, meeting your company's plan. You've got to have a goal. You can't hit a mark without a target. And so you have to have goals. And in those goals and in the goal setting, then you could set actions. You could set benchmarks. You can have buy-when dates. And more importantly, you can be strategic. And so in the game Survivor, people have to outwit. They have to be strategic. Nobody's ever won that game without outwitting, without being strategic. It's one of the most evaluated elements in the game, but outwitting and being strategic is definitely a huge element, and that's why I put it first. The other thing is you've got to outplay. You are in competition. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care if you're a teacher. I don't care if you're a salesperson. I don't care if you're a flower shop owner. You are in competition with somebody else. I often think of, restaurateurs, the guy selling the hot dog and the guy selling the steak, they're competing against, other people. I'm making a decision tonight. Am I going to have a hot dog or am I going to have a steak? Am I going to spend $5 or am I going to spend $100? regardless of the situation, there's a competition for my business, for my dollars. And so you have to be strong. You have to be resolved in your commitment to your trade, to your business, because at the end of the day, you're competing. You're competing not just against your industry. I think of this all the time in sales on Mondays. At Colonial Life, we make phone calls and we're making, voluntary benefits, insurance phone calls. But you know what? There's all kinds of businesses calling on Mondays. There's computer businesses. There's advertising businesses. There's paper, Dun& Miffler paper companies are out there. Everybody's calling business to business on a Monday. And so you're competing and you've got to outplay. You've got to outplay the competition. We've called it, try harder, do better. Got to outplay them. You have to outperform them. You have to do well. You have to beat and win in order to outplay. And then ultimately, if you've outwitted, if you've had a strategy and set some goals, if you've outplayed them, you've been strong, you've been resolved, ultimately that'll probably result in outlasting. In outlasting them. The outlasting part then again is being patient, having endurance, having grit and stamina and tenacity. One of the things I've noticed in sales is that a lot of people who've made it in the industry, they've made it just because they didn't quit. They didn't give up. They didn't stop. They kept going. They kept fighting. They kept clawing. One step at a time. And I love that aspect about sales. I love that persistence is the key. The key to surviving is being persistent. And so, you know what? You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the most strategic. You don't have to be the strongest. But you can outlast others by being the most persistent, by being the most patient. And so, a fun and easy way to encourage your team, to encourage yourself, to stay on the good track, especially when things are going rough, when it's hard and you want to give up and you want to quit. Just remember Survivor: outwit, outplay, outlast.